That's fantastic. Okay, so today we'll be talking about three key areas. By way of introduction, my name is Oluwaseyi Kehinde Peter, as you all know. I'm the humble founder of PayWen, the Pan-African Women Empowerment Network. So today we'll be talking about three key areas with respect to business model. We'll be looking at design perspectives to your business model development. We'll be looking at customer value, how to create this, your customer value proposition, and how to create this. And then we'll now finally go hands-on into creating your business model. Okay, so firstly, design perspectives to business model development. Now, why I like to start with, before you think about developing your business model, the first thing you need to define and articulate well is your corporate objectives. And when I talk about corporate objectives, there are two key areas: your mission statement and your values. Some organizations include vision. However, from my own perspective, your vision statement is not as important as your mission statement and your value statement. So I like to focus on this. I believe every organization must have a mission statement. A mission statement simply says why you exist. Why are you in existence as a business beyond making money? And for those who own social enterprises, why are you in existence? Why was that organization formed? And what is the driving force behind its existence? And the values just states in achieving our objectives, what are the characteristics or what are the behaviors that will drive you in achieving that? Okay, and so I mean, if you go online, you see that most top organizations have a mission statement and their value statement. Usually, you have about 4 or 5 statements. Usually, have things like integrity, customer service, customer orientation. You know, different organizations have different things that define them. And the reason why I say every organization must start with this, because this underpins anything else that you do. Okay. Your mission and your value statement, it's the foundation. It's like the foundation of a building. It lays the perspective and it lays the framework for every other thing that you're going to do as a business and as a business owner. So when we're looking at your design perspectives in business model development, we're looking at, what are those things that you put into consideration when you're developing your business model? What are the building blocks, you know, that determine how you integrate all the different aspects together? So but before we go into that, let's start with what is a business model. So when we talk about business models, what do we mean? And according to Peter Drucker, who I believe is the founder of strategy, I think, I mean, anything that you want to think about strategy and business, he's a leading thought leader, you know, in this area. And it says a business model is supposed to answer forgive me, okay. It's supposed to answer pretty much, I mean, who you are as an organization, what value you create and add for the customer, and how you can do that at reasonable costs. Pretty much, what are you doing? What value are you creating for the customer? Okay, and what value are you getting? Because when you're creating value for a customer, you too in return must get your own form of value, either it's financial reward or otherwise. So what value are you creating for the customer? How are you creating that value, and what are you getting in return? That's in simple terms what a business model is. And every organization has a business model. I mean, irrespective from the hairdressing salon down the street, to the vulcanizer that pumps your tire, to the Netflix, the Amazons, every organization has a business model. But the question is, not all organizations have clearly articulated what their business model is. And it's important for every business to be able to articulate and cascade what your business model is, because it provides clarity and it provides the foundation upon which you can innovate. Okay, let me check the chart just to be sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, it creates a value and the foundation upon which you can innovate anything. And okay, so one key thing, your ability to communicate your business model in a succinct and a structured manner helps you. One, I think for me, the most important thing, it shows your investors and your stakeholders that you understand everything that has to do with your business. And I must say this, that especially for those who will be seeking for funding, most financiers and most investors do not look at your business plan any longer. Why? Because a business plan is filled with assumptions. You make assumptions that, oh, you are expecting to make X amount of sales, or you're expecting that your costs will be this. So a lot of the foundation of a business plan is based on assumptions. A business plan is good. Chigozie Basha will be taking us through the elements of creating a business plan tomorrow. However, what is the fundamental part of a business plan is your business model. And once you get your business model right, once you understand the elements that make up your business model, it creates, for me, it's like the crystal ball that differentiates between a business that succeeds in the marketplace and a business that does not succeed. So that said, I hope we understand what the business model is. And I'll just go into different types of business model that exist. I'm going to start with the traditional ones that we all know, that we all met, in this, well, maybe not all met, but the old ones that we know about manufacturing. A manufacturing business model is one that converts raw materials into finished products. For instance, you have a car manufacturing plant. A retailing business model is the one that buys from the wholesalers or from the manufacturers and provides it to the end consumer. Apologies. A distribution business model focuses on taking the materials from where they are produced to where they'll be used, either to the wholesaler or to the final user. Your brick and mortar stores are physical buildings that house retailing businesses. For instance, you would have your ShopRite that's in Nigeria and I think in other African countries. Then e-commerce, as we all know. But those are the old business models. I like to focus a little bit more on the more modern or the newer business models that are evolving. And these ones that I've listed on the right, they are not all the business models that exist. They are just some of the most common ones, and I'll touch on that. A high-touch business model is a business model that has a lot of dependency on human touch and human activity in making it happen. So for instance, your barbing salon, what else? Your makeup service, those things are high touch. The challenge with this high touch businesses is that they are not easily scalable because they require a lot of human and physical outputs. Crowdsourcing are business models that rely on other businesses or other individuals to contribute content that they sell. Or that in return they exchange for profits. And Wikipedia is a key example of a crowdsourcing business model. This platform, She Leads Africa, is another key example of a crowdsourcing platform. You have Mamalet, yeah? Mamalet, all those platforms, they rely on people providing content. And it's that content that people provide that they in turn exchange for revenue. You have dropshipping. So dropshipping is the business model for dropshipping is a solution by a retailer sells to the end user, but the retailer does not warehouse any of the goods. All the retailer does is that once an order is gotten, the retailer just contacts the manufacturer and gets the manufacturer to ship directly to the end users. Now, dropshipping business model requires or involves a lot of legal, documentation just to protect both the manufacturer and the retailer. I see some hands raised. I can take all questions once I'm done. Okay, so affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is a business model in which an individual sells on behalf of a number of manufacturers or producers, and then gets a commission for on every sale that it's made. An aggregator business. So your aggregator business is they're platform businesses that, for instance, Amazon is an aggregator business. So what Amazon does is that it connects buyers to sellers on a platform. However, what makes it different from a platform business is that it also provides an ecosystem to support. It provides an ecosystem to support the platform. Excuse me, let me, I need to view the chart. Okay, I don't know, there's something. Okay, yeah, I've sent this. I'm trying to just view something. Okay, so I hear that the audio is a bit low. I'm going to work on this now. Okay, so that's what I was trying to do, yeah. Okay, so I've talked about aggregator businesses. Then you have software as a, okay, good, thank you, Ife. So you have software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service. Now this relates a whole lot with IT businesses. I won't talk about that because we don't have a lot of IT people in this audience. And then you have network marketing. Network marketing, examples of network marketing are, you have the Forever Living, the Long Bridge model. Those are what you call network marketing businesses. So those are examples, just a few examples of some newer business models. And the reason why I brought this up is so that it gives a bit of perspective to what we define as a business model when we talk about business models. The good thing about it is that every business is innovating. So there are no hard and fast rules with respect to how your business model should be. However, you need to constantly evolve in your business model. You need to constantly think about how can you better serve the customers, because it's from a perspective of how can I better serve the customers that a lot of these business models have evolved. So what are the key components of a business model? The first thing is who. Who are you in business for? The most important thing is that you're in business for your customer, or whatever segmentation of customers that you have. And at the basic of everything that you do when it comes to your business, you always need to think about this. You're in business for your customers. You're paying customers. You would have some customers that are not paying you, but you are only in business for your paying customers. So every business, every innovation, and every decision that you make should be geared towards how can I better serve my customer? How can I increase their gains while reducing their pains? We'll talk about that more later in value proposition. And then your business model should answer what? What exactly are you giving your customers? Usually it's the solution and the value that you're creating for the business and for your customers. So the proposition is the solution and the value that you create. And the how, the resources. So how do you create this value? And most importantly, how do you deliver this value to your customer? And then you have what's in it for me. At the end of the day, you're not in, unless you're a charity like PayWen, you're in business to make money. So the question is, what's in it for you? What value are you getting from this value that you're creating for the customer? Okay, so those are the 4 key elements of any business model, irrespective of whatever business model your organization runs or your business runs. you must answer who are you serving, what are you providing for them, how are you creating this value, and what's in it for you. We'll talk about this when we look at the 4 V's of business models. Okay. All right. So I thought to talk about this briefly because now the 6 thinking hats is a tool that most businesses use for decision making. However, in my experience, I find it quite useful in designing or thinking about your business model. Because the reason is, when you're designing your business model, you need to think about every possible aspect and every possible position that your customers could have. And what the 6 thinking has is about is just a decision-making tool whereby you have 6 different positions. And then from these different positions, you look at it. So if you're wearing the red hat, you're looking at it from, how does this business make me feel? If you're looking at it from a white hat perspective, you're looking at the facts. What are the facts on ground? What are the key benefits? What are the key details about this business? If you're looking at it from the green hat perspective, you're looking at creativity and innovation. How can I improve it? If you look at it from the yellow hat, you're looking at it from the benefits position. And if you're looking at it from the black hat perspective, you're looking at it from the antagonistic perspective. You're looking at it, what will not work, okay? And I decided to play a short video. I think it's about 2 or 3 minutes video that will just talk briefly about what the 6 thinking hat is, and then I'll give examples. I'll give examples on how it can be used.
Method is that the human brain thinks in a number of distinct ways, can be deliberately challenged. If you look at a problem with the 6 thinking hats technique, solve it using all approaches, precision, focus, ambition.
Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so I hear that you can't see the video and you can't hear the video. Apologies for that. What I'll do is I'll send the links to the video much later. Okay, so what the video was just saying is that the 6 thinking hats was developed by Edward de Bono, and it helps, it helps to look at your business when you're thinking about your business model and the value you create for the customer. It helps you to look at it from different perspectives. So as an entrepreneur, you most likely will be very optimistic about your business idea to say, oh, this is what is going to solve. This is a solution I'm creating. For instance, I had a conversation with one of my participants, and she talked about the fact that she wanted to go into selling rabbit meat. And I asked her that, okay, fine, fantastic. Why do you think this is a good business model? And she talked about, yes, the dangers of red meat, and the fact that a lot of doctors are advising their patients to eat white meat. And rabbit provides a good alternative for white meat, and it is nutritious and delicious and all that. And I said, okay, fantastic. However, putting on the black hat perspective, which is the critiquing part, I asked her, how are you sure that people want to eat rabbit meat? If I were to put on the green hat, I'll then begin to think, what creative ways can we package this rabbit meat in such a way that it will be appealing to other people? if I were wearing my yellow hat, I'll be looking at it that, oh, what are the benefits of rabbit meat and how can I incorporate this into my business model? So you see that when you're looking at your business model, it always helps to, I think the best will be for you to have a focus group meeting. And if you have a focus group meeting of about 6 people and you have each person wearing each hat, it helps to break down your thought processes better. But most often than not, you're not able to have a focus group. So what I usually suggest would be you as yourself, you'll be your own focus group. And then you think about your business model, looking at it from the different perspectives. From the perspective of, oh, the person critiquing it, from the perspective of the person who has a creative idea, from the perspective of the person who looks at the benefits, from the perspective of the person who's looking at the plain facts, and then from the red perspective, which is the perspective of the person who's looking at it based on how do I feel about this? How does this make me feel? Does it make me feel good or does it make me feel bad? Okay, so that's about it with 6 thinking hats. And in every business model, there will always be trade-offs. There's no business model or there's no business in the world that does not have trade-offs. But I decided to talk about 2, the most common trade-offs that I hear a lot of startups talk about. So the first question is, do I go for a niche market or do I go for mass market? And the honest truth is that there are no clear-cut answers to this. It depends on what business you're in and the model you want to operate. However, I always would advise that as startups, you start with a niche market. So when we talk about niche market, okay, when we talk about a niche market is focused on a specific customer segment. So for instance, I know I was talking with someone who said she wanted to make pap. She wanted to make pap. And I mean, everyone eats, and I asked her, are you niching your market or you want to do mass market? Oh, she says, oh, I want to do mass markets. It's pap for everyone. However, I suggested to her, if you were going to niche, you can say, oh no, my pap is only for nursing mothers and babies. So that's a niche market, and you have identified a subset of the larger market to focus on. So in designing and in producing your pap, you're now looking at what would a nursing mother need in pap, or what would babies need in pap? And then you're customizing your products to ensure that it meets their needs. The benefit of niching your market as a startup is that it's less expensive for you to start up. Every entrepreneur makes mistakes. And if you are focusing on a niche market, your mistakes are less costly, as opposed to mass markets, which requires a lot of money if you want to do mass market. And a niche market also helps you provide better customer experience. So your customers get a better feeling or a better experience from how you deliver your products if you're niching your market and you niche it well. So I usually would advise that for startup, you look for a niche market and you focus on that niche market. And then as you grow, you can then begin to create variations for other subsets, of the mass market. But I mean, niching is just good. And in this day and age, where we have a VUCA economy, most organizations will tell you that most experts will tell you that it's better to niche your market. And then there's a second trade-off that most businesses usually have. I don't even see, especially for us startups, we usually have this value versus price. I want to deliver X value, however, my customers cannot pay for it. So this debate over the value that I give versus the price that I can charge for it, or the price that the market is willing to pay, it's something that, there are no clear-cut positions to it. However, as you continue to iterate in your business, you continue to check this, check this, check this, check this, check this. At some point, you will come to an equilibrium of the value that you should give and the price that the market is willing to pay for it. So those are just those are the two most common trade-offs that every business model would need to have. Depending on which segment of the sector, which sector of the economy that you are trading in, there are other trade-offs that you'll need to consider. And then, so it leads me to my next point, which is on design thinking and business model development. And, you know, I started by saying you're in business for the customer. So everything that you need to do must revolve around the customer. And so when you're applying design thinking to your business model development, just start with the customer. And you say, what does the customer desire? Now, there are a lot of questions, a lot of arguments to say, most times the customer they don't know what they want, they don't know what they need. They have all sorts of needs. For instance, you could have a bride who would say, oh, I want a tight-fitting wedding dress that would show off my curves at the same time, and that the veil is as long as halfway the aisle. At the same time, the same customer is telling you, oh, I want something that is comfortable enough for me to show off my dancing skills. Okay, so there's what the customer desires. There's what is viable, what is feasible, sorry. The second one is what is feasible. So what can you technically and operationally achieve? And then the last part is what is financially viable, because I mean, the customer has what they desire, you know what is feasible in terms of design. And then the most important thing you need to look at is how viable is this? I mean, at the end of the day, what's the margin I'm going to make on this? And then the intersection of what the customer desires, what is technically and operationally feasible, and what is viable for you is where lies in the solution that you should provide to the market. We'll talk about this in much detail later. So those are just the key points on design, the key aspects that you should put into consideration as you design your business model. So next, we're going to talk about customer value proposition and how to create it. Now, there's what you call the 4 V's of a business model. And I've talked about it extensively, but I'll talk about it in more detail now. First, you have the value proposition. Your value proposition is the solution that you're providing to the customer, as well as the value that the customer gets as a result of your proposition. Okay, as a result of your solution, pardon me. And then the value creation. How do you produce this value for the customer? What is the production process? Or what is the process, right, in creating this value for the customer? And I mean, let's use a restaurant as an example. So let's assume that you have a restaurant. Your value proposition will be hot meals in a conducive and enjoyable environment. That's your value proposition. However, the solution you're providing is just food. You're providing food. That's the solution you're providing. However, the value that you're creating is hot food in a conducive and a nice environment. So you see the difference between the solution and the value. Okay, value creation. So how is this food made? Okay, what's the production process that goes into creating this value? Do you cook on site, or do you cook off site and you distribute to various locations? Okay, so you need to look at how can I create this value for my customer. And then the third aspect talks about value capture. Value capture just talks about the financials. What are the costs that go into creating this value for my customer? And what am I getting as return? So it looks at your cost price and your selling and your revenues. That's what the value capture stand of the 4 V's talks about. And then finally, the value network. Even though you are in business and you have customers, you cannot create value for your customers alone. There are stakeholders that support you. You have your suppliers, you have your partners, you have your employees. So you have a network of people and organizations that support you in creating this value. So when you're looking at your business model, you need to look at these 4 aspects, the 4 V's of your business model. What is your value proposition? How are you going to create this value in a cost and in an efficient way? How are you going to distribute this value to the customer? How are you going to capture this value? What are the costs and the revenues involved in creating this value? And who are the stakeholders that provide support in giving this value to the customer? Okay, so now that we've talked about value proposition, the value proposition canvas is another tool I like to talk about. And it's a simple tool that helps you to understand what the customers want and create products that perfectly match their needs. It's as simple as that. So your value proposition, and it's a very good tool to spend some time in articulating what your value proposition is, because that is your promise to your customer, okay? It's what you're promising your customer to say, oh, this is what I would give. If you come in contact with Paywen, this is what we will give. If you come in contact with Bonach Stitches, this is what we will give. If you come in contact with iCarella, this is what you would expect, from us. And I mean, it collects customer information in a simple way and helps you, effectively design your business model. But let me talk about the various aspects of your value proposition. The first one it talks about is your product market fit. And I'm not going to dwell too much on this because Ogbo talked extensively on product market fit in his last session. So I won't talk about that. But apologies. So the next thing you need to talk about is the assumptions. And this is key. Because as business owners, and particularly as women, we make a lot of assumptions, both right and wrong, when it comes to our businesses. Or we assume that people will buy. People will not necessarily always buy. Or we assume that, oh, the solution that we are providing accurately fits the pain. So in designing your value proposition, it helps you to challenge your assumptions and ensure that every assumption that underpins whatever it is, whatever the solution it is that you're providing for your customer is based on facts, verifiable facts, okay? And what a value proposition also does, it helps you to align your intended and delivered value. So now I know about 40% of our participants are in the fashion space, but there are usually a lot of pictures that go on social media about what I want and what I get, yeah, especially when it comes to fashion designers. So I just got this picture of, what the person wanted on the right-hand side, what she actually got on the left. But really, as a business owner, you need to ensure that at every point in time, the value that you're delivering is the same value that you intend to deliver. And an example also comes to mind as I talk about this. There was a time someone introduced me to a wonderful, or someone who was very good in baking cakes. And then, I decided to, to try her out. And she made this beautiful cake. I told her to take a picture of the cake when she was done with it. And she took the picture of the cake and then she sent it to me via Uber. Uber was the one I mean, she used one of the Uber cabs, to deliver it. Lo and behold, when the cake arrived, it was a mess. Obviously, the Uber driver was not, particularly careful. And then you can imagine what happens when you're not careful and you carry cake. It got smudged in different areas. So as a business, you need to look at the value you create, the value you intend to create, and the actual value that gets delivered. And you need to be very, very particular about ensuring that the value that gets delivered to the customer is what you intend. And at the end of it all, the main purpose of your value proposition, of designing the value proposition, is to ensure that you delight your customers. Unfortunately, I'm not going to spend time playing the next video because I think there'll be issues with the audio, but I will send the link to this video shortly after the session. I'll send this. Apparently, we had about 4 videos. And so when you're looking at the value proposition, I'll also send this template. However, when you're looking at the value proposition canvas, this is a tool. This is like the actual templates that you're going to use in creating your value proposition. And you start with your products. First and foremost, what are the features of that product? Okay, so if you are giving, if you're producing, okay, skincare, let's say you're making a skincare product, okay, a face mask, yeah, what are the features of the product? Oh, it is natural and it is organic. It is white in color. It is soft to the skin. It is, I mean, you just list what the various features of the product is. If you are in, what other examples can I use? I mean, in whatever business that you are given, there's some features of the solution that, okay, so if you're in fashion, okay, what are the features of your solution? Oh, you are providing beautiful designs, you know, Bella Naija-like designs, yeah, that have perfect fitting, or that wows, I mean, audience when they see it. And what are the benefits of your product? So you need to be able to articulate what are the benefits of the product, of the features that you have. What benefit does it give to your customer? And then finally, you know, we always talk about this. What is the experience that your customer will get as a result of using this product? Because customer experience makes the difference between whether the customer will come back again and whether you're able to make money from that customer. Okay, so in designing your product, you must have your product, what you're selling, what are the features of the product, what are the benefits and what the experience, and then you need to match it to the customer. What are the customer's needs? What are their wants? And what are their fears? So you need to ensure that whatever it is that the customer is fearing is minimized. You need to ensure that whatever the customer needs is met and whatever the customer wants is also met. Okay, so I'm going to share this template also, you know, to participants, so that you can, and if you think about your business and you articulate the various elements in this, the 8 different elements in this value proposition canvas, it takes away any assumption. I know they say the devil is in the detail. What these tools help you to do is to go into the cellular detail of your business. And then when you break down your business into different cells and you shred everything, you're able to critically look at your business, critically look at what value you are creating, how you can innovate, and most importantly, how you can make money. Okay? So I think that's this. And you know, talking about your value proposition canvas, sorry, there's an error in this. What is your value proposition and how are you creating value for your customer, and how do you manage expectation? How do you create gains for your customer and how do you release gains? That's what your value proposition is. How do I create gains and how do I mean, reduce the pains that my customers are having? And so let's take a quick look at the case study. So that we can bring it on. Okay, I even talked about it earlier. So Cindy started a restaurant she named 6 to 9 Kitchen and Bar. An advertisement slogan read, "No time to cook your meals, visit 6 to 9 restaurants and bar." So what she was, what her value proposition was, she was providing food, fast food, to anyone who does not have time. You know, we live in a fast world now, and everybody wants things at the click of hand. So her proposition is, if you don't have enough time to cook, just come to my kitchen, to my restaurant, and then you get good food, right? However, she noticed that people were not coming. I mean, she had talks with some potential customers, and then she decided, and she discovers that customers think that coming to her restaurant does not really save time. Why? Because Simbi's waiters are so slow that it actually costs them more time to come to the restaurant to sit down to eat than to actually cook themselves. Okay? And as such, there's a mismatch between the intended value that Simbi expected to create and the delivered value. So what does Simbi now do when she realizes this? She doesn't sack all her waiters, which I know would have been the first thing some of us would have thought about. But then she had to change her value proposition. And then she now advertises that slow food is good. Visit 6 to 9 restaurants and bar for a comfortable and easygoing night out. Okay. Now, I'm not endorsing this decision, and I'm not saying, oh, this is the best decision. However, the reason why I'm using this example is just to show how your value proposition drives your revenue models. It drives how you make money. So now from communicating that, oh, we want fast, quick, and easy. If you want fast, quick, and easy food, come to Simbi. She's now selling the experience that she's creating, a comfortable environment and an easygoing night out. You know, and that's the difference, you know, between, you know, you just creating a solution and you creating an experience. And this can only happen when you know, go into the cellular detail of your business and now articulate, what do my customers need? So she realized that, I mean, the customers, especially the ones who wanted fast and easy food, you know, they were not getting value from her waiters. And you know, what this also brings out is that there are different segments of customers. So if we look at this case study, we'll realize that there are different segments of customers. So there are those who want to come to the restaurant to have a good time, you know, they just want to enjoy the music, enjoy the ambience, you know, spend away the time whilst, for instance, it could be whilst waiting for traffic to abate, yeah, for those in Nigeria. And traffic used to be a big issue before the lockdown. So, I mean, so you're creating a nice, comfortable environment and a nice night out for your customers is the experience that you are creating. However, there's another segment of those who just want food quick, quick, quick. What you could do for those segments of customers will be to provide delivery services. So instead of just providing meals in plates, which you would ideally find in a restaurant, you can then provide food in 5-liter bowls, 10-liter bowls, 2-liter bowls. I mean, you provide bulk food that will be delivered to them. So you see how breaking down your value proposition and your customer segments helps you to deliver value to the business and to your customers, and it helps you to be able to charge a premium on the experience that you are creating for your customer. If you are able to meet their needs, the truth of the matter is that customers would always pay premium for people and for businesses that address their pain points. Okay, so that's it. Moving on swiftly, so we'll not look at business model canvas. Yeah, and now that we've talked about the design elements, we started by talking about the design elements in business model creation. We talked about value proposition, determining your value proposition. You must articulate what your value proposition to your customer is. And I mean, let me give an example about, since we're in fashion, about a business that I know. Okay, so there's this lady who currently makes my clothes now. I'll say this, I don't think she's the most creative of all the fashion designers that have worked with me. I mean, I've had some other fashion designers that are more creative than her. However, what I like about her is the fact that she delivers value to me how I want it. And there was a day I went to her space, and then she told me that, oh, she's redefined her business model. Now, what she promises is that for the segment of customers that want bespoke tailoring, those are people who, I mean, she makes custom-made clothes for. She's guaranteeing that you will get your clothes in 72 hours without any design error. That was the value she was proposing to that particular customer segment. And I asked her how, and she told me that she had redefined her structure to support this. So right now, at any point in time, if you put up a call to her to say, oh, I need bespoke tailoring dress, or I need this, she's guaranteeing that you will get it in 72 hours, design error free. Okay, and she was able to work backwards to ensure that every member of her production chain is paid based on a completed design that is error free. So if there's any design that has, or if there's any output that has any error, that impacts on the revenue or the income that that particular employee gets. I mean, I don't know the details, but I know she's been able to, from articulating that this is the value that I want to create for my customer, she's been able to streamline her business and her structures to ensure that these structures help in delivering this value for customer. And she told me that since she's been able to do that, their revenues have practically doubled, because they have more customers, they have more customers demanding for clothes, and they have more satisfied customers for that customer segment of hers. Okay, so that's just a simple example of how you can articulate a value proposition that meets a customer pain point in a way that it's clear, simple, delivers value to your customer, and delivers value to you. And what is value to you? Increased revenue and increased profits. Okay, so that's that. So let's talk about business model canvas. Yeah, and there are two business model canvases that I would recommend or suggest that we as business owners we look into. And you have the Osterwalder's business model canvas, and you have the Lean business model canvas. I'll start with the Osterwalder's business model canvas, and it's usually called, oh, okay. I mean, this is another video. We're going to skip this. Well, let's test. Okay, let me still play it, so that we can. Okay, so I'm not sure the audio was good, but let me just talk about. So this is the Osterwalder's business model canvas. It's called OBMC, yeah, and it is only used for business. I would advise that only businesses that are in their growth phase should use this. So for those who are starting off, we're going to talk about the business model canvas that you use next. But this is for those who already have a minimum viable product, they already have their customers, their businesses are going into the growth phase. And this is, I mean, the different parts of this is you have your partners here. Okay, let me put this. You have your customer segment. So I just like to start with customer segments. So what are the different customer segments that you have? If you're using the OBMC, I like for you to start when you're doing this, because I mean, obviously, this is going to be your assignment. Yeah, you start with your customer segments. So what are the various customer segments that you have? I used the tailoring example, and you have the bespoke segments, those who want tailor-made clothes for them, and then you have those who what do you call it, ready-made? Yeah, the segments that just want to come and pick up the clothes. I mean, ready to wear. Yes, that's what it's called. So you have the bespoke segment, and you have the ready to wear, or you could have your segment as children, for instance, or men. I mean, however you define your customer segment is up to you. And it's up to you, really. And then look at, for each segment, what are the value propositions that you are giving to each segment? Okay, and then you look at the channels. So in delivering this value proposition, how do I ensure that this value proposition is delivered to my customers? Then you look at the customer relationships. You look at the key partners that provide this and the support to you in delivering that value. So what are the key partnerships that you have? What are the key activities that you must undertake in providing that value that you have promised to each of the segments? And you have to do this for every segment, because every segment have different value propositions, and the activities that key into the value propositions for each segment are different. So I usually advise you do this for every customer segment. It is a lot of work, yes, I agree, but we need to make money. And for you to be able to make money, you must understand every detail about your business. This is like a crystal ball for your business. Big organizations use this, and this determines their effectiveness. That's why an organization, a big organization can come today, they'll start with one product and it will be a hit, an instant hit. And you're wondering how and why. It's because they spend a lot of time, money, resources, and people in going into this tiny and minute detail. So for you as a startup, this is the area of startups making it big in the marketplace. However, startups must be able to spend the time and the effort into looking at these granular details of their business and revolutionizing it in such a way that it adds value to their customers. Okay, and then lastly, you now then look at your cost structures and your revenue streams. I always say that this is the last that you should look at, because focus on value, then you cannot look at the cost and how you're going to make money out of it. Okay, so the next to not then be the lean canvas. And for startups, I know about 30% of us, about 38% of the participants are startups. So this is the model that I would advise, and it's called the lean canvas. And the reason for this is because as startups, you're still in an explorative mode. You're trying and testing and trying and testing. Will this work? Will this not work? Will this work? Will this not work? I know we're running out of time, but I'm going to round up quickly. And this will be my last slide. Yeah, let me go into this because this will be my last slide. So you first start with, as usual, you start with your customer segment. Who are your target customers? Next, you go into the problem. What problem are you solving for these customers? Then next, you go into the revenue streams. As you're solving these problems for the customers, what are the sources of your revenue? What are the sources of your revenue? Yes. Then next, you look at what solution are you providing? What are the top 3 features of the solution that you're providing? Then next, you go into your unique value proposition. Remember, we talked about that in previous slides. Then after that, you look at channels. How would your product get to your customer? And then after looking at the channels, you look at the metrics. How would you measure how successful you are as a business in delivering value to your customer? Okay, so you list the key metrics. And after that, you now then look at your cost structures. What are the costs that will go into delivering this value? And then finally, you look at what is the unfair advantage that you have. For every business, you must have what you call unfair advantage. What are those characteristics or those things that you have that cannot easily be copied or that is unique to you? So this is the lean canvas, and this is the model that every startup should use, while the OBMC is the model that every, if you're a growth business, a business in the growth stage, you use the OBMC. I'd like to stop here now and take questions. But please ask your questions in the Q&A box. That way it's easy for me to answer them. Okay, so Eboluwa is asking, how do you switch from mass market to niche? Okay, first question you need to ask yourself, do you need to make a switch? Okay, even though I said, yes, it's better for you to switch, you need to look at your business model, okay? But let's assume that you have deciphered that, oh, you need to now switch to niche. The first, for me, what I like you to use, so when you look at the mass market, so the mass market is the general market. You look at what are the different segments in this mass market, and which of these different segments in this mass market is the most profitable. At the end of the day, you're in business to make money. So yes, it's not the segments that you like the most. It's not the segments that is easiest for you. It's a segment that makes that has the highest return on investment that you should pick from your mass market, and then you focus on this segment. When you focus on this segment, you understand who they are, what they like, where they hang out, who their friends are, what are their pains, what are the things that they value most in the solution, and then you now design your solution to meet the segment. I hope I have answered that question. Oluwatosi Awoni is asking, I don't understand what you mean by trade-offs yet. Can you explain more? Okay, so I'm saying that in every business, there are some things that you need to give, there are give and takes that you would have in your business. So for instance, if you're a skincare production person, and okay, so let's assume that you're in organic skincare. Now there's some products in organic skincare that have a good value. For instance, let me give an example. I used to make organic skincare well, I still make for my children, but I don't make commercially. So you have vitamin E. Vitamin E is very expensive, but it's very good for the skin. However, if you put too much of vitamin E, or if for instance you want to add frankincense essential oil into your production, it's very expensive. So the question is, what quantity of vitamin E should you put into your product, or should you even put it at all? Looking at your cost structure. So that is the trade-offs that you have to make between value and price. So the value that you're giving to the customer. For those who make clothes, I'm told that there's some lining that is put under the clothes, and some are cheap, some are expensive. I heard the expensive ones make the clothes look nicer, and the cheap ones, tear. I mean, something along that. But then every fashion designer needs to, articulate, okay, do I want to use the cheap one or do I want to use the expensive one? Okay, I'm not a fashion designer, but I mean, I'm just trying to use those examples because I know we have a lot of them in our participants list. So I hope I've explained that. And then another common trade-off is whether you want to go into mass market or you want to niche your product. Okay, someone is saying, can I go through the OBMC canvas again? I will send a video to you, okay? Anonymous attendee, why are you anonymous? Please, we want to see your name. I want to know who is asking questions. You won't get any points for this question that you have asked now. Okay, so when I share the video, it will provide more detail about the OBMC canvas. But in summary, the OBMC canvas is used for businesses that are in their growth phase. So that means you have a minimum value product, you have your customers, you have everything certain. You just need to scale your business. Then this tool helps you to dissect your business to see how you can scale, where you can scale, and where you can make the most money from, where the innovations can come into place. Do I think switching to digital or technological advantage in fashion is advisable? Oh, yes, sure, definitely. Tech, I mean, you need to be able to leverage tech in everything we do now. We're in a tech era, so I think it's advisable. But however, you need to look at your customers. Will they be willing to pay when you leverage on this? Okay, what market will I advise a caterer to focus on? You need to do your analysis. So I can tell you, okay, so this is from Year One Day Oyibo. If I tell you anything, is guesswork, or maybe at best, I'm looking at it from my own perspective, but I may not be a large base, and my profile may not be the profile that has a market for you. So you need to look at your customers and ask your customers questions. As you ask your customers questions, they will provide you with solutions. And as they're providing you with solutions, you will now know which area you need to focus on. How can we create a business model if our business does different things? And that's why I said about niching. You need to niche, okay? But even if you don't want to niche and you want to have different products, you then need to have different business models for every aspect of your business. Okay, so you're into catering, so you have to do a business model for your catering. You have to do a different business model for your events management. Auntie, only you are doing big designing. You know what they say about jack of all trades, master of none. If you want to build a business that would outlive you, you need to decide which of these businesses you want to focus on. Yes, I know in terms of cash flow, you may need to do, these 3 businesses because you're good at them. But I always, advise, if you laser focus on one business is what will make and, create the long-term success that you want. Okay, how do I classify a person that started a business long time ago, then failed and decided to start all over again? You are still a startup. Emanuela Chineye Nwokoro, you are still a startup. even though you've been in business for a long while, and yes, you failed, you're still a startup. As long as you've not articulated what and you've not achieved, because the reason why your business failed is because you did not achieve a product market fit. Okay, so as long as you're just starting that process, you're a startup. And so Inena I'm sorry, I can't see this clearly, but Inena is asking, what if I cannot answer some of the questions in your business model? You need to answer it. If you cannot answer it, then that means you do not understand your business. You need to be able to answer. And who is the best person that you can go to help for? Your customers, your employees, the people that create value, your suppliers. Ask them questions. Most importantly, focus it around your customers. You can have a focus group session where you have people representing your customers, you have some people representing your suppliers, and you have some of your employees. Form a focus group session of all your stakeholders and then provide answers to that. But every business must be able to articulate all the different aspects. Okay, so a quick preview of the four B's of a business model. You must have your value proposition. You must have how you create value. You must have how you capture value. And then lastly is the value network, the people that work together in providing the value to the customer. Kemi Ojulari says, can you explain the 6 thinking hats again? I will send the video. When I send that video, it will explain it. But you know, there are 6 different hats when you talk about 6 thinking hats. So you have the white hat that looks at the facts. You have the yellow hat that looks at the benefits. You have the red hat that looks at the feelings. You have the black hats that there's usually looking at why it will not work. And then you have the green hat that looks at the creative aspects of, you know, the business. And then you have the blue hat that links all this, and the process hat that links everything together. Can we get the Zoom recording? Yes, like you did last week, you're going to get the Zoom recording. Under what business model would you categorize travels and tourism? It depends on what part of travels and tourism that you're doing. Okay, there are different segments of businesses in travels and tourism. Okay. Sandra. Okay, Sandra is asking, please, in the era of internet, how do I get my customers to get hard copy textbooks instead of ebooks? They mostly go to and cheaper for them. I'm not sure I understand this question. So if you have hard copy textbooks, in this day and age, nobody reads hard copy any longer. Most people prefer you know, soft copies. So the question is, how can you provide soft copies to your customers? You need to look into that. You can also explore, if you are, because I know a lot of Nigerians shy away from ebooks because they say people do not respect intellectual property in ebooks. So you can also explore Kindle. Yeah, Kindle on Amazon, you can explore that. It's been clear so far. From the illustration, how does she know people want to eat rabbit meat? So how do you, okay, so how would she know? Is to, I mean, you ask, you never know until you ask. So you ask a segment of people. This question is from Ife Adeoye, and she's saying that from the illustration I mentioned, how does the person know that the people want to eat rabbit meat? And my answer to that is that you ask. So you do a focus, always ask, you know, do the field investigation in articulating your business idea is important and key. So ask your potential customers, oh, you're trying to target people who are not eating red meat or who do not want to eat red meat for health reasons. So get a sample of them. And I always say, get like 100 people. By the time you get 100 people and then you ask them questions, you'll be clear as to what exactly their needs are and how you can meet those needs. Okay, I'm just going to answer 2 more questions. Recorded version, yes, you'll get it. Oh, design thinking. Design thinking just says, is looking at it that everything that you do must look at it from the perspective of your customer. So this question is from Luwakemi Ayorinde. She's saying I should explain the design thinking in business model development. design thinking looks at your business from the perspective of the customer, how the customer would interact with your business. And it looks at an intersection of what the customer needs, what you can produce, and what is viable. So whatever you get as an intersection of all these three areas is what you will now then focus on as a product. Okay, anonymous. Okay, I'm not going to answer any anonymous question again. You need to have your name there. What can I do? This will be the last question I'm answering. What can I? Okay, just two more. There are just two more questions. Okay, just answer. What can I do for Manolo Akpo? What can I do to align my delivered value to my intended value when I notice that my intended value is not what my customers are getting? So if your intended value is not what your customers are getting, you need to look at the process and try to articulate why are your customers not getting the intended value? And then you now need to address those process flaws. That's what I'll get. And you need to ensure that your intended value is what your customers want. So if your intended value is what your customers want, all you just need to do is to look at then the process and say, oh, so if I want my customers to get a beautiful cake, so what are the different processes that are involved in getting a delicious cake, a beautiful and a delicious cake? What are the different processes in achieving that? You need to look at the measurements, you need to look at baking, you need to also look at the delivery. So you look at the different segments in the production and delivery process and see what is wrong and then fix what is wrong. Is it necessary to ask questions? Okay, so I have this question from Jane. Is it necessary to ask questions from people doing the same business as you? And I want to particularly address this, yeah? We are in the era of collaboration. The fact that you are doing something and another person is doing something and the person is your competitor, you need to find ways in which you can collaborate. And let me use a typical example. If you go to the market, especially, if you go to a spare parts market, for instance, you realize that it's almost like a cartel. Why? Because every spare parts seller is united in some form of, they collaborate. And so it makes the market a more formidable force. I see a lot of competitions growing. However, I look forward to having a lot of collaborations between women, because by the time we begin to collaborate, by the time we begin to work together, we begin to get bigger businesses that create more value and more revenue. Do not forget, I always say, it's better that you have 1% of $1 million business than for you to have 0% of $100 business. So let's look at collaborations. Let's look at how we can foster collaborations amongst ourselves. Okay, Toluwanimi Smith is asking, what if your business is logistics, courier service? How do you identify the key features? You can always identify. So you are delivering goods from point A to point B. Who are your customers? Your customers are the people that you are delivering the courier service to. What do they want? They want fast and efficient service. They want to be able to track where the goods are at any point in time. They want reliability. So if you say that, I'm going to deliver at X time, they want to be sure that yes, you'll deliver at those times. So looking at your customers to say, oh, what do they want? Speed over cost. Because I know with logistics, sometimes it's cheaper for you to aggregate all the courier requests into one location and then shift to a different location. And that usually will take maybe 2 or 3 days. But sometimes your customer is saying, look, I want it same day, no matter the cost. So look at your customers and then find out what they want. Do they want speed over cost? And then you can then begin to define and design whatever solution that you're given to meet whatever your customers need. Okay, so I think I have answered all the questions. We have spent we spent more than we should. Thank you all ladies for joining us. If you have any questions, you can always send your questions to info@paywen.org. I'll be happy to answer your questions. So to this, I'll say thank you. Thank you, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, I have some people raising